This goes back to something Fish said, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, because you should always listen to the weekends on the Fans. They're freaking phenomenal, especially compared to the competition.
Yep.
He said, well, you want to make sure the relationship is working because when they're at the top of their game, Carlisle is one of the best coaches in the league. Donnie is one of the best GMs in the league. And Cuban is one of the best owners in the league. Bull crap is what I say to that. You cannot tell me that our owner, GM, and coach are all the best or one of the best in the league, and we have won nothing. Not one playoff series for 10 years. Bull crap. That is a flawed statement. Now, here's what makes me the angriest about this. In those 10 years, they have had one coach and one general manager. All right? So that's a total of two, the coach and the general manager. In that same run, the lowest number for any of these other teams is 6. Charlotte has had 4 coaches and 2 GMs. Detroit, 4 coaches and 4 GMs. Brooklyn, 5 coaches and 2 GMs. Orlando, 5 coaches and 3 GMs. Minnesota, 5 coaches and 5 GMs. The Kings, 5 coaches and 4 GMs. Phoenix, 5 coaches and 3 GMs. Why is it that while the Mavericks have done nothing for a decade, we have done nothing about it? And who is most responsible in the triangle of trust?
And it's worth noting that, like, in Kevin's juxtaposition here, he's not trying to say that you want to have 5 coaches and 3 GMs in a decade, but it does speak to
worked out for them.
And of course, it does speak to the incompetence of those organizations.
Exactly.
Putting those out there, but there is the feeling that they are constantly attempting to find a solution.
And I think at least attempting at some point makes logical sense because, Corey, you said it hasn't really worked out for them, hasn't really worked out for us.
No, you're right. And one of the things that maybe Cuban's loyalty is too much of a problem here because Cuban has said and has frequently said this, that it's very difficult to find somebody to run your businesses that you trust, that can actually do it. And, you know, this isn't a situation, Kevin, I personally don't think, where if Mark Cuban came on air and was like, why would I get rid of Rick Carlisle? He would go coach another team immediately. This isn't like when Jerry Jones said that about Jason Garrett. And
I believe he's right, yeah.
Like if that was the situation, you'd look at it and go, but you're right. Whenever it comes to, I mean, Donnie Nelson has found 3 generational players, right, in his time, if you believe that.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah, what?
Does it bother you at all? Because that is amazing. Does it bother you at all that our ability to scout college basketball players seems to be really, really dicey?
And that's where I was heading with that, but for some reason, every other player that's a role player next to him has been, less than ideal. The 1 year we had it, we had a lot of really good veterans. You know, like Sean Marion, you can say what you want about his Hall of Fame credentials, but he was a really good piece on that team. You know, Tyson Chandler was the perfect piece for that team. Jason Kidd was the perfect piece for that. And Jason Terry, now that took years to get all that to work, to finally put that piece together. But then they're like, all right, we're going to break it all down and go away from it. And now you're at a point where you're like, well, man, are we building through youth? Like, there's just so many young players on this team, but are they any good? And what's their ceiling? What is their real ceiling? Well, with Luka, their ceiling's anything. Well, I don't know about that. What if Luka has better players around him? Why can't you get those better players? So, yes, when it comes to drafting out of college basketball or scouting there, it is very frustrating to look and go, but, Mike, are there always a lot of opportunities to get those picks? Because Dennis Smith Jr., we were all like, well, that's a fringe. He's on the fringe there whenever you got him, but you were happy to get him. But then this draft happens, and you're like, holy crap, there are some guys the Mavs just completely whiffed on.
I know we have the same record as Memphis, right? And Luka's better than Ja Morant, and I love Ja Morant. But look what they have done in the draft over the last 3 years as they went away from Mike Conley and Mark Gasol, and obviously Zach Randolph's career came to a close. They had to rebuild and go down to nothing. And I get it. The Mavericks got Luka, and Luka will always be better than Ja Morant. But look what they do, to your point, with the other college picks that they have. They do a great job. In fact, the kid Bain, who's a rookie, I mean, wouldn't he be playing 20 minutes a night on our team?
Yes.
I mean, and look, whatever, I thought it doesn't matter. I wasn't crazy about the Josh Green pick. It doesn't mean it's never going to work out. But, I mean, if you look at all the picks after Josh Green, almost every pick seems to be better than Josh Green at basketball right now. And that's just right now. There's a lot more development to go on. I don't want to crap on Josh Green and say he's going to be a bad player in the NBA. But the Mavericks have done a very bad job, and whether it's their scouts aren't good enough, whether they just don't care about the draft unless they are trying to get a Luka in the draft, because from what I understand, they don't really concentrate that much on the draft unless they feel like we can get a Luka Doncic in this draft, or we can get to Corey's point, a generational type player in this draft. If they have pick 18, which was a very important pick for the future of the Dallas Mavericks, if Josh Green ends up being nothing but 8 or 9 points and 5 rebounds a game, that we don't have enough assets because of all the things we traded away to get Porzingis for 18 to be a crap pick. I mean, this has to be a top 5 player on your team or lead to trading for a top 5 player on your team. And right now it looks like we might have drafted a guy who might not be able to play in the NBA, and that's too harsh of a statement because there's a lot of development to go on. But it's really bad on how the Mavericks have decided that certain guys are valuable pieces. And I just wonder this, going back to this. Are they finding out, oh crap, teams don't like our players? Right now, as they're calling around just to see what trades they can make, because I do think there's a part truth. How much they're shopping Porzingis or not, we'll never know. But I do think they're shopping right now. Are they finding out that people don't think Dorian Finney-Smith is much of a player? That Maxi Kleba is, something this or that? Go ahead, Reggie.
No, I'm sure that's part of it, because I don't think anybody would disagree when I say that the Mavs kind of try and find some of these players that are maybe undervalued to other teams and try and build them up and make them better in the system. Isn't that like part and parcel of how the Mavs have operated?
Yes. Yeah, like we find Mark Cuban said, we try to find the fallen angels. That's his quote. Mark Cuban's quote is, we have to find the players. Corey brought up Marvin Bagley. If Marvin Bagley in a few years, when he becomes a restricted free agent or a free agent, are we going to say, well, we know he hasn't been good in the NBA, but we're not going to have to pay a lot to get him because he's not getting maxed out because he hasn't proven it. But man, he was the number 2 overall pick. And because we can't draft, we can't really develop on our own. So we have to go find people that we're supposed to be can't miss guys and see if they can end up fitting here. And it is concerning